But no one is going to talk about the idea of where the Pokemon games are going to go because everyone's so focused on cards. The games drive everything else, in my opinion, and kind of the relevancy of this. And it's interesting because Scarlet and Violet is not that popular of a game, but I think there's some other reasons that happened because of the app on Pokemon Pocket TCG. But today, Nintendo is showcasing a lot of new games, hardware, including the Switch 2, which has a bigger screen, bigger memory, mouse function, which, by the way, if you want a mouse, why not just play on the PC anyway? But it's going to segue kids from the Switch to a PC. We'll see. The one thing they did not want to show you, which I think is going to be relevant to Pokemon, is the price. We're specifically going to talk about the console price, and then we're going to talk about the game price. Because the console price has been shown in a press release to be $450. I have no issues with that. I think for what you're getting bang for your buck, it makes sense. It looks like it's actually exceeding the standard of what people would expect from Nintendo and have actually met industry standards. So amazing, 120 frames per second, stuff like that. I'm good with that. Where I want to say I think we're going to have some trouble is they were very quiet about the price of Mario Kart World. By the way, as an OG that played the original on Super Nintendo, I've loved every iteration of it. I've played every single one. I've had every single game. It would almost be like not buying that would be a part of me lost. So I'm a sucker. I'm going to talk about that later. But the issue is on their page, they have now shown that the MSRP, and speaking of Pokemon, we love talking about MSRP, is $80 for that game. Now, if you get the bundle with the Mario Kart, it is $50. But, you know, you're saving the $30 or whatever, and there's a value or deal. And we know that's going to push these consoles even further. Obviously, I'm stoked. It's a June 5th release. I'm all about that. Like, let's not hype this up for like 2 years. Let's get this thing out there. You know, there's some weird things where it's like there's that expensive game, but then also like a demo of the Switch game is now being charged. Not sure. But I think this is going to greatly impact the Pokemon world and kind of where we're at with this. We're already dealing with being hiked up with the price of cards, scalpers, whatever else, that we're going to have a hard time probably getting the Switch 2. And then on top of that, I think we're going to pay more for Pokemon. During this Switch Direct, we did not get much about Pokemon ZA. And that's okay, because only a week ago, we got that entire thing of it. But they did reassure us in the few moments that were shown, that we were going to be getting this on not only Switch 1, but also Switch 2 as well. Whoa, okay, we'll get it on both. But then that made me start thinking after seeing the news of Pokemon World Circuit, I was like, what does that mean for Pokemon and the cost of that? And I just want to point this out, like, you do not see a lot of discounts on Nintendo games or any of the IPs that are with that. They usually hold their value. You might find a deal years and years down the line, a player's choice type deal or something like that, where it's like, if you want to enjoy the game, you're going to buy at the price that it's at. But that is not the only thing to focus on with this. And that's because this will have ripple effects everywhere. Now, Nintendo is a massive player in software. If you think about it, they've never been about the highest spec everything. They've always been about the software. It's always been that. And that IP that they have of Mario and Donkey Kong and all the stuff that they showed and Zelda are money makers. They can have people pay a premium for that. Now, many AAA games have used loot boxes and some kind of barrier to extra content or paying for skins or whatever else to make money on top of the $60 you spent for the game to justify kind of like making more money out of it. But I think with Nintendo doing this, as many others do out there, this might set a new precedent that is out there. And $80 is the low end. And I'm going to explain. I am okay with Nintendo charging more because the fact that they usually deliver a product that is full, it is complete, it is kind of like not needing a ton of patches. Like, there's not that many issues I've found with Nintendo software and Pokemon games, which we'll get into that, which is a whole deal. But overall, since like 2012, I feel like games just went to crap. Like, nothing was tested. It's like, we'll fix it on the fly. We just want investors to know we're continuously putting stuff out there, and then things would flop, they'd patch it, and then you're just like constantly playing this song and dance of trying to download everything. And that's why when you look at something like Tears of the Kingdom, for example, like these big world open games, like we're going to see in Pokemon, these big world open games that are more demanding of a system, I'm okay with paying a premium. I really am. However, we have to look back at Pokemon where the issue is Scarlet and Violet games had issues with them. And by the way, I've recently been replaying it, so I can tell you, I'm like, whoa, what is going on here? Because frame rate drops, it slows down. You know, it was at the mercy and limitations of the hardware of the Switch 1. So the fact that they're like, hey guys, we're gonna release it on both systems, you're like, so you're gonna make us play a crappy version of the game, probably worse frame rate drops and issues like that. And most likely we're gonna say just buy the Switch 2, and you're only doing this to say that you're not totally abandoning everybody on the Switch 1, but it's not going to be pretty. I think a lot of people are going to be very upset by the graphical limitations that are there. And maybe not, though, at the same time, because there has been more of a gap since previously from the game of Scarlet and Violet, where they might have been able to fix some of those issues. But overall, maybe we'll see this actually like come out good for people that don't want to upgrade right off the rip. And I don't want to just knock Nintendo. A lot of people are contrary, like, I hate this, hold our pitchforks. Like, dude, we're all suckers, man. We're going to buy it. And I know that because I'm just that person. I love Nintendo. I've got Nintendo tattoos, all this other stuff. But the issue is, I was in 4th grade buying video games on the Nintendo 64 for $60, okay? And I can tell you that inflation was not keeping up. We were still paying $60 for decades, literally, at that point. And essentially, something had to give, and so they insert all these microtransactions and whatever else to try and make up for that. I do think they made more. I actually went to the internet and I calculated, if you had done the calculation of inflation over all these years from when I was 8 years old to current day, that $60 would have to be $117. So essentially, it's actually not that expensive in comparison to inflation anyway. The $80 is for digital games only. Now, again, I'm going to show some shots on the screen here that are going to be from Europe, where they show 80 euros is going to be for the digital version, 90 for physical of the world's Mario Kart thing. And then on top of that, the new Donkey Kong, which, by the way, I think looks awesome, is going to be 80 physical and 70 digital. But this is where I get scary. We have to respect Donkey Kong, very popular. It is popular, but is it Pokemon popular? Is it Zelda popular? No, it is not. And I think because of that, we may see a higher price game for Pokemon because they know they can. And Pokemon right now, like, look at this market. People will pay the money for Pokemon. People are dumping money into digital assets on the Pokemon Pocket TCG. So I'm like, they would be dumb not to take the cash grab for $80 for the new Pokemon ZA. I think that's the way it is. Some people here are speculating that games like Grand Theft Auto 6 are going to be $100 because how crazy they're going to be. I could see that, but, you know, it's Rockstar. I think people will pay a premium if it's good. To end this off, at the end of the day, me, you, most likely watching this channel, we're suckers. If you're not, it's okay. I'll be the sucker. I want the Switch 2. I think it looks cool. I liked a lot of these IPs that I would really love to play. And I think that we are going to see a Switch 2 exclusive, not for the Pokemon ZA, but we will see it for the next iteration of whatever Pokemon game that is, which typically comes out later in the generations. Just putting that out there. But yeah, I'd love to see what comes up next. I think a Mario game is going to be hot out of the next year after that maybe, but you know, we're seeing a lot of big moves with games, including Pokemon right now. So what do you guys think about the Switch 2 release? And what do you think if Pokemon was $80 or $90? Would you pay that? Let me know down in the comments below.